Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show. Today, we will be talking about creating healthy, loving, and joyful relationships, part 3. We're live Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern on W4WN.com, Talk4TV.com, and my YouTube channel. And thank you for joining us, whether you're joining live or listening or viewing at a later time. And today we'll be talking more about, as I said, the creating loving, joyful, and healthy relationships. And we'll continue where we left off last week, and we'll continue talking about how you can create a healthy, joyful, and loving relationship. Learn the difference between a healthy and an unhealthy relationship and an extraordinary one. Discover how to transform your relationships in new ways to live an inspired and empowered life. Welcome, and I'm your host, Nanci Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker and intuitive breakthrough expert. I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to transform your life and the lives of many women around the world. And this show is not a replacement for counseling or therapy. It is for educational purposes only. So, and I see that we have Allie in the house. Good morning, Allie, and Marie. Good morning. Glad to see you both. And welcome all the rest. Welcome, welcome. And I want to read this quote, a part of the quote that I had read before, but it is such a great quote because it talks about relationships in new ways. Now, when we're talking about relationships, I'm talking about not only partnerships, but all relationships, because they all require the same set of skills. In intimate partnerships, it ups it because you have sexual components and you have other challenges. If you are raising a family, you may have the challenges of parenting. So all of those pieces, but the basic qualities of a good, healthy, loving, and joyful relationship, no matter what the relationship, are all the same. There are basic similarities that I really want to share with you. So the book, Conscious Loving, The Journey of Co-Commitment by Gay Hendricks and Kathleen Hendricks is a really great book for partnership. But I love their book because it also talks about relationships and the basis and all the different things that you need to know about having a great relationship. And I talked about their quote, but I want to read this part. And I'm beginning with relationships are call for a rare kind of courage and a new set of skills in today's society. That's my words. Brand new territory is being explored, as wide open and full of possibility as the frontier of outer space. Courage is required because practically every step you take will be a venture into the unknown. After all, how many times in your life have you actually seen the kind of relationship you want? And so that goes across the board. It's so many people are desperate and wanting and desiring that healthy, loving, joyful relationship and don't know how to get there and don't know what to do and how to do it in order to transform themselves and their relationships. So the bottom line, the equation that you need to remember is all relationships require, every relationship you have requires you to be 100% participant, you to be the person that you want to be in a relationship. And the more that you who are who you want to be, the more your relationships will change. Because when you allow yourself to be that loving, joyful, extraordinary person that you are, and I'm going to tell you, you already are. And it's about tapping in to the truth of who you are. And yes, learning how to have that loving, joyful, and healthy, amazing relationship requires skills. I'm not saying that it doesn't. And one of those essential skills is communication, like we talked about before. However, the you being you and really like coming out and enjoying and being the full you, an authentic you, will change your relationships. And because you may be the one who's ahead of perhaps the other person, unless the other person is working on themselves, you may be the one to initiate the conversations. You may be the one to be the role model. And know that it is the most rewarding experience to be that person and then have those relationships transform before your eyes. And I know this from my own personal experience, and I also know it from working with hundreds of people through the years, helping them to transform their relationships and transform. And every time they've transformed their relationship, it started with their own transformation. And so you are the most important part of the equation, because you can't change the other person. There, as much as you would like to, you can't. You cannot change the other person, but you can change yourself and how you react or respond. So let me talk a little bit about reaction and response, because that's really important. When you are coming, and I'm going to do the quick Psych 101, you have your conscious mind, which is you talking and choosing to be here and choosing to listen or view. And I really want to say thank you for being here. You making the conscious choice is your conscious mind, and that empowers you. Your subconscious mind is the part of you from the moment you were conceived to present time. and beyond, including your past lives and your ancestors and ancestral trauma, all of that is stored in your subconscious mind. So those old programmings, the beliefs, the limiting beliefs, the emotions about who you are in relationship, and about relationships in general, will really, really be what you want to look for. You want to become aware of, because many times you're in the habitual, you're in the habitual routine of being in a relationship, and you're wondering, why can't this relationship change? And it's about looking at the beliefs you have about that relationship. Now, that relationship may not be your partner. It may be a parent. It may be a child. It may be a friend, a good close friend, or a coworker. Because what you believe, you will see in your life. It will be mirrored back to you in your relationships. And take, for example, there was a client that I work with, and I'm calling her Sally. And Sally really needed to love herself more. She did not feel loved at all. In fact, she felt unlovable. And she didn't even feel worthy and deserving of love. And so Sally and I worked on helping her to feel more loving, more worthy, more deserving. And when she started believing that, she started seeing changes occurring in her life. Like there was a teacher that she was in school, in college, going for her next degrees. And this professor was really not acting nice or kind to her. It was reflecting her low self-esteem and her beliefs about feeling unlovable and not deserving of love. And as we healed and changed the beliefs to feeling worthy, to feeling deserving of getting and receiving that love, her professor started seeing her differently and behaving towards her differently. And she started seeing the best in her rather than the worst. And what was happening was, as Sally was changing her beliefs about herself, she was actually seeing the results in real time in her life. And that's what can happen for you. And I am going to ask anyone in the chat if they have an example that they would like to share of something that they've seen transform in their lives when they started thinking about it differently. Now, it could be a relationship or it could be another area of your life, because the bottom line is how you feel about yourself, how much you love yourself, how worthy and deserving you feel will affect all your relationships, and it affects your life. How much money you allow yourself to make, how much you allow yourself to receive support and be supported, how much you allow yourself to have joy and fun and be creative. All of those are energies that want to move, and they cannot move if you are feeling blocked by your information, blocked by the challenges, and blocked by you not feeling worthy, deserving, and good enough of the love. And so I really want to talk about what is now the number one secret, and I talked about this. The number one secret to a healthy, joyful, and loving relationship is da, 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 you. You are the key component in all your relationships. It's all about you. So, how are you going to be in your relationships? And how can you use your intuition in your relationships? So, learning to use your intuition is your most valuable skill, resource. And I'm all about intuition. I mean, I'm the intuitive breakthrough expert. I teach you and others how to use your intuition in all areas of your life. All areas of your life. So, when you want to use intuition, when you have a relationship and someone is triggering you, for example, Sally, her professor, when we would have sessions, her professor would trigger her like crazy. And she'd get really, really upset. And she'd have such an intense emotional reaction. So the first thing that we did, and the first thing for you to do, is to look at what is being triggered. What is being triggered? Now, for Sally, her professor would ignore her, or she would say comments that were really inappropriate and would hurt Sally very deeply. And so it was learning for Sally to learn what was being triggered for her. And so as we started exploring it, and she started looking at the mean comments that she was receiving from her professor, she realized that it was triggering her father, who would be really mean and say mean comments and belittle her and demean her, which made her feel even more unlovable. And so what we did was we really helped her get the clarity is to understand where the emotional reaction was coming from. And I was talking about reaction and response before. Let me get back to that. When you are in a reaction, and you are reacting with an emotion, and it could be hurt, could be anger, could be fear, grief, sadness, or perhaps even shame or guilt. When you feel those feelings, you have had a reaction to a person, a place, a thing. It could be a situation that triggers you. I mean, I have a lot of clients with social anxiety, and it's not necessarily a particular person. It's walking into a social situation and having to deal with people, any people, because of their old trauma, because that's what happens. You have an emotional reaction. Now, for Sally, her emotional reaction when her teacher was mean is she would go and she'd withdraw, and she would really get very hurt. Sometimes her anxiety would increase. and she'd want to run. And there were times where she actually had to leave the classroom because it got too intense for her. And so what happens when you have a reaction, an emotional reaction that is coming from your subconscious mind? Now, where you want to go is you want to go to the response. And in order to get to a response and make a conscious choice, you need to work through some of your issues. So, what would happen? Part of what we did when I was working with Sally is she would be taking what the teacher said personally, because it seemed like it was a personal issue. So why is she treating me like this? Now, if Sally was listening, she would see that the teacher was doing that to other people too. That professor has her own issues and was doing that to other people as well, people that would let her get away with it. And so what Sally started to see, and this is a really important point, is not to take other people's stuff personally. So learning not to take another person's reaction, because the professor was not coming from a very high place. She was coming from her own stuff. Because I believe in my heart of hearts is that most people are good people, and they want to be better people. And when someone is not acting kindly, when someone is being mean or hurtful, that's not their true self. That's not who they really are, which is the superconscious mind. And the superconscious mind is you, your higher self, this wise, unconditionally loving self, and your soul, and the universe, your guides and your angels and your teachers. And when someone is being mean, they are not being their higher self. Because what I teach my clients, what I work with people, is helping them to become their higher self, their highest and greatest self, because that's who you want to be in your relationships. And so Sally was reacting from the child place because the professor was triggering her old issues of her father. And the professor was triggering her. She was just in a reaction. Maybe she was burnt out and hated her job. Who knows why she was doing what she was doing? But she was definitely not coming from a higher self, because your higher self isn't mean, isn't cruel or hurtful or abusive in any way, shape, or form. When you are your highest self in a relationship, you are kind and loving, forgiving, compassionate towards yourself and towards others. And that's who you want to become in your relationships. And so what happened, so with Sally, we worked on her getting clarity about this professor triggering her father issues, and did some inner child work to heal. Because when you connect with that child inside of you, that loving child or the wounded child that really wants to be heard, to be loved, to be acknowledged, and be treated kindly and with respect. And very often, when you were growing up, you weren't treated like that. You may have had an unconditionally loving grandparent, or perhaps it was a parent, or perhaps it was a unconditionally loving aunt or uncle, or even an older brother or sister. And it was from them you learned more about love. And what happens is you want to love yourself, that inner child and the present you, like that unconditionally loving person did towards you. Now, if you don't have anybody in your life that is unconditionally loving, and what do I mean by unconditionally loving? I think it's really important that I define what that means. Unconditionally loving is when you love yourself or someone else without conditions. No conditions, no exceptions. You love someone because of who they are. And that's how your higher self loves you, and your soul and the higher aspects of yourself. They love you unconditionally. Your guides, angels, you are loved unconditionally. And it's learning to love yourself in that same unconditional way. And so, learning to love yourself unconditionally is a powerful and important healing tool to transform your relationship with yourself and others. Unconditional love. And I'm not saying that it's an easy place to be or to learn, but it's a most worthwhile place. Now, some of you may not have had an unconditionally loving person in your life. Now, if you haven't, perhaps you have a pet. Maybe if you have a pet, that pet's unconditional love is giving you that love. Now, if you don't have a pet or a person or an example, is there someone that you know in society that you can imagine would love you unconditionally? And then I support you in using your imagination. Maybe I want you to all know that you have a guardian angel. Your guardian angel loves you unconditionally. So imagine, what would it be like to be loved unconditionally by your guardian angel? And so I want all of you to even imagine, and you can, if you don't believe in angels, that's fine. Imagine using light, just bringing in the light, the unconditional love of the light, of the universal energy. And just breathe. Now, if you're driving, please don't do this with your eyes closed. But if you're not, and you can always come back to the YouTube, on YouTube, or you can come back on iHeart or one of the other podcast sites, iHeart, Spotify, Pandora, Apple. And really, I want you all to imagine right now that you are being held in the arms of your guardian angel. And just breathe in that energy and feel what it would feel like. Imagine, and if you're not sure, I want you to use your imaginations. Imagine what it would be like to be loved and held unconditionally by your guardian angel. And breathe that in. And as you breathe that unconditional love in, you're helping yourself grow in unconditional love. And you're helping others. Because by you being you, and the more unconditionally loving you are, the more you spread that love and allow yourself the love to shine, the bigger difference you make in your life and in the world. Because every time you become more unconditionally loving towards yourself or another, it brings in the energy and it helps the energetic. It helps all of us because we're all connected. On some level, we are all connected. And so know that you make a big difference when you do that. And so with Sally, I worked on helping her, one, to not take the professor's information personally, and then to be able to start being able to start loving herself unconditionally with the help of her guardian angel and the help of other aspects of herself. And what I'd like to ask is anybody in the chat, if you were able to do the exercise that we just did and how it felt, what happened for you, how was it for you? So if you'd like to share anything, I'd love to hear how it was for you. And so allow yourself to know that that unconditional love can heal beyond anything. And it takes time. It may take time, but know that it is worth it. So as Sally healed and she started loving herself more, as I said before, she did start seeing the changes in her professor and in all of her relationships. She wouldn't tolerate that. Now, this is really important. When you are unconditionally loving, it does not mean that you are a doormat. As you become more unconditionally loving towards yourself, you start saying no, setting boundaries, taking better care of yourself, better self-care. That's a really, really important lesson to learn. It's not about people pleasing, and it's not about giving yourself away. It's not about allowing yourself to be hurt by other people in mean, toxic, abusive, hurtful ways. Any of those combinations. And it's learning to stand up for yourself, learning to take better care of yourself, speak your truth, set better boundaries. That's all about unconditionally loving yourself and others and speaking your truth in a way that others can hear it in a healthy way, in a healthy, appropriate way, so that you are being heard, you are being respected and loved more. Now, if someone is not able to go there with you, then you may need to end the relationship, whichever relationship it is. It depends on who it is. Now, if you're having challenges with a child that is under 18, then that's when you need that help and support. You need to reach out for help and support. Now, if you're having your own challenges, it's about learning to reach out for help and support also, because that is loving yourself, being able to reach out for that support so that you can be the loving role model and also be supported to either get the help you need or to get someone you love the help. Now, if the person's over 18, you can't make somebody do something, but you can support them in getting help that they need. And when you are coming from a place where you are in a situation and somebody is triggering you, meaning you're getting that emotional reaction, because the reaction comes from the subconscious mind. It's instinctual until you totally, completely heal it. Now, what will happen is you will find that you may not react as intensely, or it may shift over time as you heal. And what happens is as you heal more and more, in the moment, you can actually make a decision, a conscious decision, to respond in a healthy, appropriate way rather than react. And I want to share with you, I have a meditation, an intuitive decision-making meditation that can help you clear your energies and help you take right action, to help you know what the next step you need to take is. So it's inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation. And it's called the Intuitive Decision Making Meditation. Inspired and empowered living.com/meditation. And it's amazing meditation. I've heard so many amazing results from being able to clear your energy, make the connection, and ask for what is for your highest and greatest good around a relationship, around a decision that you need to make. So definitely inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation. You can get that meditation and start using it to really help you make better decisions. And really all about being able to move forward in your life, in your relationships, it's life-changing. And so Sally was really able to transform herself and her life as she changed her inner thinking, her beliefs, and her emotions. And part of that is the self-talk. That self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? And are you letting other people's comments affect how you believe about yourself, how you think about yourself? And I really want to support you in stopping that, learning to be more compassionate and loving. Actually, it's interesting. I pull cards in my Facebook group. I pull a card a week. And this week, this week was Kuan Yin, which is an ascended master, and she's all about compassion. So, compassion. Are you being compassionate with yourself? And are you being compassionate with others? It's a great question to ask yourself. Really important. Compassion. Because compassion will help you transform your relationship with yourself and with others. If there are any questions, anybody has any questions or comments, let me know. So it's really learning to tune in. Now, your intuition is your guide. Your intuition is your guide for next steps, what you need to do to move forward in this relationship. How do you need to be? So you want to work through the emotional triggers. And really be loving and compassionate. And when you're in that more peaceful place, then you can ask the higher aspects of yourself, like your higher self, what action can I take in this relationship for my highest good? Now, Sally was getting to keep working on herself, or to keep taking care of herself. And at some point, she was ready to speak her truth to her professor. And how she did it, she was able to be heard. Because she did it in a healthy, appropriate way, and it basically changed the relationship. That is one of the pieces that helped change that relationship. And I really want you to know that you can do this too. You can transform any of your relationships. One, first by transforming yourself. And two, really working through the issues that need to be worked through. And three, having the other person, you create a safe space, a healthy, safe space, so that both of you can be heard. This is especially in intimate relationships. And then you can move forward from there. So, we're going to do more inspired and empowered living next week. So tune in for more inspired and empowered living. We're live Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And I wish you all an inspired and empowered day and an inspired and empowered week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.